Best things I learned as a Christian working for the White House, for President Reagan, as a supply liaison. I used to take the gratuities and give them away to people that couldn't afford them. And what a joy that was to see the expressions on their face. This is really from me, from the White House? Yes. He said, well, are you going to get in trouble for that? I said, now, I run the vault. They come to me to get the stuff, okay?
Robert.
And so my memories from Jim is the things that we did together. It was more important to me as Jim is with our Heavenly Father right now. It couldn't be a better person. The witnessing that we done together, I cherish him the rest of my life, and I'll never forget him. Thank you.
Next friend, very close. We're very fortunate in our lives to have just 2 or 3 people that actually know us through and through, and they may not agree with everything we say. In fact, they may be our carbon opposite, but at least they love us. The next friend I want to introduce to you is one such individual for my father, and if he was here, they would both squabble about something, I'm sure. His name is Mac Bynum, and I'd like him to come up for just a few minutes.
When I first got here, Kevin said, oh, you're the one that's going to tell us the stories about Jim. And I said, you do not have enough time for that. The first thing, just to begin with, I was in Mexico on a mission trip, and I got back home, and the first thing BK told me was that Jim had passed away. Let me tell you this. Jim and I worked together. He was a strong deacon, and I mean strong, that if it was right, it was right. If it was wrong, he'd tell you it was wrong. Although I corrected him several times, but anyway. He was the kind I wish we had more of in our government right now. And when I heard Jim had passed away, the first thing that came to mind was Proverbs 18:24, and I'll paraphrase it for you. It says, if a man is to have friends, he must show himself friendly. And the last part of it is, there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. I think that kind of summarizes Jim and I. Now for the rest of the story. I can't tell you how well we got along, but we fussed constantly. We ate together, we prayed together, we hunted together, we played golf together, and we fussed together over anything. I mean, something important like raindrops coming down a window, who is going to get there first. Right now, the pastor mentioned that, there's no tears in heaven. And I'm sure that's true. But right now, I think he's grimacing because I'm getting the last word. Okay. Just one story. A dear friend of ours, 2 dear friends, matter of fact, Emily Shear and Joe Shear, they both lost their spouses, and they'd married each other. And Emily was in First Clinton Baptist Church for a long time, and Joe was. Joe always wanted to go play golf with us, with Jim and I. So finally, it came about. We got to all go play golf together. And he got home, and Emily called BK and said, Joe thought they were going to fight. but it couldn't be farther from the truth. And, you know, the pastor, I had one pet name for him. I'm sorry the pastor didn't have that one, but loved him so much. I called him a grouchy old buzzard. And he knew that there was nothing but love in it. Fran didn't, but Jim did. And that's what was the important one. Fran would get so mad. But anyway, it's just, it's a pleasure. At first you feel remorse, but you know, I know he's a lot better off right now than he was the last couple of months. There's no doubt in my mind. And, you know, it's a pleasure to have somebody like Jim in your life. And there's only 2 or 3 in your lifetime you can ever count like Jim, because he had a couple of faults. One of them was a Redskin fan, because I'm from Texas and was a Cowboy fan. If you saw the film there, you saw all you see the blue and silver on the other side. Did you see that? Guess where that came from? Okay, all right. Yeah. Yeah, I shared with him often. I had 2 favorite teams, the Cowboys and whoever was playing the Redskins. So anyway, but Jim was a dear man. He was a strong, strong Christian. And he's far better off than we are right now. And we love you.
Okay, you're in for a treat. One of Dad's family members actually is going to say a couple of words, and I'm so proud of him for doing that. He's come such a long way to represent the family. I want to introduce his brother, John.
I know all of you needed just one more speaker, but I wanted to tell you about Collins, Nick, Coss, Jim, Mr. Nichols, Papa Nichols, that some of you may not have known. He came from a sort of a divided family. His real father passed away at the age of 30, and his mother had 2 sons and a daughter. And my father was married, and his wife passed away when she was about 28, and he had 2 sons by her. Well, they got together and got married, and then along came me and my younger sister. I wanted to pay tribute to him today, to Collins, and to my family for melding this 3-family unit into one that was so close that every stepbrother or sister felt as though they were real brothers and sisters. And I remember, for instance, when my mother passed away at the age of 60 from Alzheimer's, Collins was there, and he held my dad all night long. But before they were able to get the family that well melded together, there was another incident that happened, and one day they had roasted some peanuts, and my younger sister and I got to them before they got to them, and we were just enjoying ourselves immensely and had practically eaten them all up. And both the Rogers side and the Nichols side jumped on both of us and commenced to pummel us. And my mother said, "Dad, come quick. Your children and my children are beating the heck out of our children." Such a love. Such a wonderful man we're sending away today. I love you.
Before I have a couple things to say, I'd like to introduce my wife. Kelly has known my dad, obviously, for many, many years. And so if you want to come up and say what you have to say, and then I'll close out, and then we won't keep you.
Jim was a very special man to me, and I knew that I wouldn't make it through talking about him. So I have a great love for poetry, and I thought I would just offer this poem for him. Do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow, I am the diamond glint on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you wake in the morning hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the soft starlight at night. Dearest Jim, death leaves a heartache difficult to heal, but love leaves sweet memories that no one can steal. You will be in my heart forever. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. What time is it? We got this place till what, 11? Just kidding. Peanuts. My dad loved peanuts. He loved boiled peanuts. He loved roasted peanuts, especially with sweet tea. He liked peanut butter brittle about as much as anything, and he always debated which one was the best, but I think he liked Eleanor's, so you can tell her. He taught me to put peanuts in Dr. Pepper. He liked pecans. He ate pecan turtles. He liked pecan pie. My dad was into food. Food was a joy to him. He loved oysters and Maryland blue crabs and tacos and fried chicken and anything pretty much home cooked that could come out of the garden. And one of his favorite sayings was, when we were done eating, he'd sit back and he'd go, "Well, I wonder what the poor people are eating tonight." He liked pulled pork, not minced, not chopped, not sliced. It had to be pulled. And he'd ask. He loved pepper hash, and he always was a big debate about what it is. It's green tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that, and it's pickled in a thing, and it's what we eat for breakfast, and we put it alongside our eggs and all. But the biggest debate was whether whose was best. Was it Bernice's or was it Judy's? It's still not decided. He had explicatives. My dad didn't curse, but if you ever was around him and he was mad or something, he'd say something. And I don't know, I can't tell you what one means more than the other, but I'm going to let you know what they were. Dang it, doggone it, dag bag of luck, doggone a luck, and jeepers creepers a living. And again, I don't know which one meant more than the others, but that's what they were. His best health advice he ever gave it to me was shake it off, son. That or walk it off, son, when I'd get hurt out on the farm. He thought strength was something you could measure in a handshake. And to his dying day, he would tell you, "I'm okay, shake my hand." And he'd squeeze down with everything he had. In the end, I'd wince just to make him feel like he was killing me. But he did still have a good handshake. He loved tea. He loved iced tea, but he'd always ask, and if you've ever waited on him, the first thing he'd ask you is it fresh brewed or instant? Because he hated instant tea. And then later on, he had to sweeten it. He'd ask you, do you have pinkies? What irritated my dad? One of the things that irritated my dad the most were the fact that cars in a highway, because he traveled a lot to see his family. He brought his family down, and that was important to Mom and Dad, was traveling a lot. And he spent a lot of miles on the road, whereas the cars travel in packs, and he never understood why. He's like, why don't they just break up and go on their way? Why do they all got to congregate together and slow everything down? And we get stuck behind a pack, and I can't tell you how many times he would say that. Dad loved hee-haw, and he loved Dean Martin's celebrity roasts. And later on, every night, Bill O'Reilly. He only used 10-10-10 fertilizer in his garden. He had a pretty good garden. That might be I'll give you that for free. He sweated like I do. We sweated like farm animals. There's no doubt about it. And he'd sweat, and the sweat would drop off his nose, off his head, and he'd be running down his roads. And I don't know whether he knew this or not consciously, but if you were around him, and this is how I know whether you're close to him or not, you heard him do just this. And I said, Dad, what's that song? He said, what song? I said, the song you're whistling. He said, I'm not whistling a song. I said, Dad, you're going. He goes, I am. And then he'd go back to hoeing, or he'd go back to chopping wood or something. And especially if it really had to do a lot of concentration. And to this day, we don't know what it was and who picked it up. it's not genetic because I don't do it. I don't think anybody else does it. Oh, Jennifer does it? You do it? A little bit. Okay, a couple other things. He used to always say if he needed you to hang on the phone, he just had a habit of saying, stand by one. He taught me, he said, son, if it's worth doing right. He always carried a toothpick and a few tiny bird's eye peppers. They were so hot, I don't know if you know how hot they are. I think Matt can attest to how hot they might be. But he always carried a few in his pocket, okay? He is right now. I made sure of it last night. Of course, he always wanted to be, of course, on the course, he'd always be saying to himself, I'm having to scramble for par. That was a big word that he taught me. I'm scrambling for par, son, scrambling for par. And he never had a flop shot in his bag. It was always chip and run. He used from 150 in, it was a 7-iron, no matter what it was. In bowling and in life, he always told me and stressed to me, he said, Greg, you've got to hit your mark. And he taught me how to bowl. And he said, you've got to adjust your mark. If you have to adjust where you throw it, but you must hit your mark. And that meant a lot to me, and I've always remembered it. I'm going to leave you with two last things. I looked in his Bible, and looked through some of his Bible study stuff. And he had 2 quotes that were written more than once. In fact, they were written several times. And I just want you to know what they were. It says, you cannot know any more about another person than you are willing to know your own self. And the last thing he wrote was, you cannot influence another person's life any more than you are willing to explore your own. Dad's where he's at now, and that's the last place he wanted to be, front and center. He was a support man. And he always had my back, and he always has yours. And now, Kelly and I share a particular faith. I didn't have a patron saint until last Friday, but now I do. So just wanted to leave you that. We love you, Dad, and thank you guys for coming, everybody that's come, from the family, from the bottom of our hearts. We really love you.
We're going to sing a song that was requested by the family. And as we sing this song, I would like for you to pay especial attention to the meaning of the words. Because he lives, you and I can face tomorrow. Brother Jim's already faced tomorrow. We've yet to face it. But these are beautiful words as we sing the first and last stanza. Remain seated as we sing.
Sent his son, they called him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. He lived and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives.
Sing out now.
Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know he holds the future. And life is worth the living just because he lives. And one day I'll cross the river, I'll fight my fight, no war with pain. And then as death gives way to victory, I'll see the lights of glory, and I know he reigns.
because he lives. I can face tomorrow because he lives. All fear is gone because I know he holds the future, and life is worth the living just because he lives.
One final word of instruction. We have done here today what we needed to do, and thank you for making this a meaningful service. As Tom mentioned, the interment will be in Arlington National Cemetery, but we want you to participate in one final expression, and that is the quartet is going to sing "Near My God to Thee," and as they begin that song, the funeral directors will come and the body will exit, the family will follow, and we're all going to gather at the far end of this hall on the outside, and that will be our final act of devotion, both to Jim and to our country, in hearing taps played. So would you stand with me?